Let's listen now as Ted Cruz recites and recounts the donation history of Donald Trump and why that might prove problematic should Mr. Trump become the Republican standard bearer. Here's what Ted said earlier tonight in Detroit.
Between all of the insults, let me point out the specificity that was lacking. It's very easy to say, let's cut waste, fraud, and abuse. I've rolled out a detailed plan to cut $500 billion in federal spending, specifying exactly what I would cut. It's easy to say it, but one of the great disconnects to all the people, all of the voters, I understand the folks who are supporting Donald right now. You're angry at Washington, and he uses angry rhetoric. But for 40 years, Donald has been part of the corruption in Washington that you're angry about. And you're not going to stop the corruption in Washington by supporting someone who has supported liberal Democrats for 4 decades, from Jimmy Carter to John Kerry to Hillary Clinton. You're not going to stop the corruption.
So Ted Cruz making his case, and here now to comment on what went on from his perspective via Skype from Miami. A real friend of Newsmax TV, Roger Stone. Roger's a former advisor to Donald Trump. He's editor of the Stone Zone, which has a certain ring to it. And we are so pleased to have him back. Roger, welcome to our post-debate special. Your take on what happened tonight in Detroit.
Well, it was a pile-on. Of course, they don't pile on you unless you're the leader. Look, the Republican establishment now is desperate. They are beginning to realize that they can't win primaries and caucuses against Donald Trump, so they're beginning to talk about a brokered convention. The New York Times reported that at least 2 campaigns are planning for a brokered convention. That would be a convention in which they stall Trump just short of victory on the first ballot, and then on the second ballot, there are certain state delegations that are bound to him by law on the first ballot, but then free to travel on the second ballot. So the will of the voters would be ignored. And I think this is what Mitt Romney is positioning himself for. Now, look, Mitt wanted to run this time, and he didn't make the race because everybody knew Jeb Bush was unstoppable. Now I think he's kicking himself. But in all honesty, he's the Sonny Liston of American politics. I think he took a dive 3 years ago. I have no confidence that he could beat Hillary Clinton. So if he wants to run, the deadlines for the late primaries go as late as April. He could still get in New Jersey, California, a number of other states. You know, it reminds me of that old quote. It's not the guy who stands on the sideline throwing rocks at the strong man. It's the guy in the arena. Mitt, if you want to run, get in the arena.
A variation on Theodore Roosevelt's missive to the man in the arena. But I don't know if you can really call Mitt a cold and timid soul who knows neither victory nor defeat. Obviously, he knows defeat from 2012. But John Zogby, to you, with the scenario that Roger Stone outlines here, if the Republicans are perceived as trying to pull a number on Trump with a, quote, brokered convention, is that the road to Republican ruin, not only for this election year, but for the party permanently?
Oh, it absolutely is. I think we're getting close to a real autopsy now of the Republican Party. But if the establishment attempts to block the popular winner, whether it comes in with a majority of the delegates or not, all hell is going to break loose. And watch that pledge to not run an independent candidacy fall by the wayside. That's number one. But number two, just because these guys tonight said they would support Donald Trump doesn't mean that they'll enthusiastically support and campaign for Donald Trump. What we're seeing now are people who actually oppose Donald Trump out loud, and those wounds are not going to heal at convention time. I don't see a love fest in Cleveland at all, and that, losing another presidential election, having the demographics of this country's electorate against you, these are the seeds of destruction.
Steve Malzberg, about 45 seconds, the last word on this portion and this part of the discussion.
Well, I think if John is right, if Republicans lose the election, it's much more than the destruction of the Republican Party. It's the end of the country. It will not recover in our lifetime or our children's lifetime. 3, maybe 4 Supreme Court justices appointed by Hillary or Joe Biden. We could not withstand that and still know and recognize this country. I think that these people are reprehensible that are speaking out against Trump, and they better be able to take it back. And I'm not worried about the polls that show Trump losing to Hillary because, as he has said, he hasn't started on her yet.
And we, unfortunately, have come to the end of this segment. Steve Malzberg in New York, John Zogby in Utica, New York, we thank you both. Roger Stone, please hang in with us. And you watching at home, stay here too. There's more ahead on our post-debate special here.